Hello, everybody. Welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Ewan.
Hello.
Hello, Ewan, my friend. Now, there's all sorts of things doing the rounds from a channel on YouTube called Strange Man, delving into Red Dead Redemption 2, pointing at a series of interactions in that game that seem to be also related to GTA 6. Now, we're just going to pull these things apart and have a conversation about where GTA 6 is at. Ewan, what's going on?
Yeah, so Strange Man is a great channel on YouTube that you should. Strange Man is the great man, a really cool channel on YouTube that I've been following for a few years. You know, he does really cool in-depth videos on Red Dead Redemption 2 Easter eggs and mysteries, and he has illuminated many of the game's secrets for the world. And he's come back this week with a brand new video talking about a potential teaser for GTA 6 in Red Dead Redemption 2. There are certain aspects of the theory you might consider a bit of a reach. I know sometimes I'm a bit like, oh, that's a bit of a leap in logic or whatever, but the guy has some really compelling theories here, and it goes back to an interaction in Red Dead Redemption 2 where if you go to Gaptooth Ridge, players who have explored all the limits of the map will know what I'm on about. There is a skeleton you can encounter of a Spanish missionary who basically perished in the desert after leaving his mission in California. And you can uncover a letter there which basically explains the mystery, and it's correspondence from a guy called, I think it's Cardinal Blanco, and his brother Rodolfo, who is the guy who's kind of basically gone all the way searching out east. And now Strange Man has, basically peeled back a layer on here. He doesn't just think this is another dark, sad story that for you to find in Red Dead Redemption 2's map. He actually thinks that this correspondence between the two missionary brothers and this man's death heading out to the east is actually symbolic of the internal struggles that have ostensibly been going on with Rockstar, and an internal battle going on whether the company should be pulled in the direction of the next GTA or to basically, sustain GTA Online and GTA 5 with further iterations and more content, because, oh boy, it makes a lot of money.
Well, the amount of... That's been the ongoing conversation with GTA 5, is like, you kind of realize that even before the last console generation, it was released, 2013, we're now 8 years later, and the only other thing on the horizon for Rockstar is another version of GTA 5, is another continuation of GTA Online. Now, there is a video that I put together, edited by the ex-WhatCulture Gaming's Osley Beatty, about how, at least to me, Red Dead Redemption 2 is this sort of conversation, this living conversation on the death of Rockstar, the changing of the winds with Rockstar, and how there's no real place for someone like Dan Houser anymore, based on the way that company has gone. Now, we can get back into that potentially, but that's what this thing is hinging on as well.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I think that video that you've had, it kind of builds upon, I think it's emblematic of how, the themes of the Western, there are so many good anti-Westerns that have released over the years, that talk about the end of the age of outlaws and the creeping advance of civilization, and you can, it's a changing of the guard and the changing of the times, and you can apply that to a medium that is rapidly evolving as gaming, maybe sometimes not for the better in the case of microtransactions and the never-ending online sphere, which again, kind of comes back to here with this theory about the idea that the two characters here are actually being representative of Dan and Sam Houser, and how one of them wants to stick around and continue to make more content on GTA 5 and GTA Online just to, appease the demands of Take-Two because it makes a lot of money, and one who is, desperate to venture into the East. In this case, according to this video, the East being emblematic of Vice City, talking about, building upon all those leaks and rumours that we've had over the past couple of years about how the next GTA is going to be set in Vice City and how it's going to follow, a drug runner who comes all the way up from South America to then basically, take over their own criminal empire in that locale. And that's essentially the meat and potatoes of the rumor, of the theory. I won't basically detail all of it because I think you should go back and check out the video if you haven't already, because it is a really entertaining watch. But yeah, that's essentially it. The idea that these two, the skeleton in this scenario, I believe in the video he refers to as Sam Houser, who wants to go and be creative elsewhere, and the guy who's imploring him to stay is Dan, which I think we kind of thought when we were doing this that maybe the other way around, given how Dan was the one who eventually left the company. He's the guy who's taken the narrative lead on pretty much, every GTA game and Red Dead Redemption game as well. So, yeah, what do you think of this? Because obviously, we've heard a lot of GTA 6 rumors over the past, forever now, but certainly they have seemed to have hotted up again in the last couple of months in regards to, I think Tom Henderson said we can't expect to see the game until 2025 at the earliest, and it's,
well, I mean,
it's an interesting position Rockstar are in right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Is like, how do you follow up on this? I mean, even in Take-Two, Strauss Zelnick said that they didn't expect it to get this popular. Like, I mean, that was the thing. Even after a couple of years of GTA Online being on the market, that it is this runaway success thing. And if you look at the sales from even the last couple of years, it's just outselling itself. It's only getting bigger. It's only getting more steam behind it. So it is kind of insane. If you're that company, and just from a complete company perspective, then you don't want to draw a line under it because it is insanely profitable. But at the same time, they could be doing the likes of the single player DLC that was going to be done for GTA 5 that just sort of went away. And if that was some internal conversation between Dan and Sam, lead writer Dan Houser saying like, hey, can we do something that isn't just GTA Online? And for whatever reason, whatever machination, that didn't happen. Ultimately, it led to Dan leaving the company, which he's formed a whole new studio now called Absurd Ventures, which assumedly will be able to do things that he couldn't do at Rockstar.
That's another cheeky jab, isn't it?
I know.
It's an absurd notion to do a single player story-driven game now.
Well, exactly, and it's just, I mean, it takes people like him to be able to sort of, light the beacons and prove that it's doable. And obviously, he's got enough money behind him to be able to do a first game to be this, whatever it turns out to be. Assumedly, it'll be something that is a high production value. But yeah, it all lines up. I mean, in terms of Vice City stuff, especially, there are, there's leaked map screenshots. There are leaked sort of really early renders from gameplay that have, shots of the island itself, the new version of Vice City, which are yet to be officially confirmed, but they always, all the different leakers say that's what this is. It's going to be Vice City, which, if the seed that's here is correct, lines up in itself. Because this isn't the first time that they've done this either. The Strange Man video points to the reality of, in Red Dead Redemption 1, there was the traveling character Sam Odessa, played by Sam Houser, who then that character discussed going to the West or whatever, which lined back up with where GTA 5 went. So it's like they've done this before. I think, anyway.
Yeah, no, totally. There have been teasers. They've been teasing going all the way back to, I think, San Andreas, where they then teased Vice City. I think I've got my order correct with that. I don't think I've got that wrong.
Vice City, then San Andreas for the PS2. But yeah.
Yes, and then before that it was... Yeah, okay, no. But they have been teasing it for a very long time, essentially. In each successive game, there is usually a reference to the next thing on, Rockstar's horizon, and so far, people searching for that GTA 6 Easter egg, they haven't really found anything. So this, of all the ones that we've seen so far that could be that thing, this definitely feels like it. There's merit to it. The idea of a character actually, venturing to a different destination, which would again build upon the tease that we got in the first Red Dead, where, it was Sam Odessa going, I'm going to go out to California, and obviously the next GTA game being set in that locale as well. But obviously the one thing that I want to talk about here as well is the idea that, if you've got this internal struggle going on with Rockstar between whether or not they want to be pulled onto the next project or continue to iterate upon GTA 5 and GTA Online, we've got a brand new, PS5 and next gen upgrade coming within the next couple of months. It is just crazy to me how, when I was speaking to you before we did this video, the idea that when Red Dead Redemption 1 came out in 2010, it was only 3 years later that we then got GTA 5.
Yeah.
And the idea that, it could be this long until we get the next logical installment, because something is, GTA Online, I think the earnings call the other week, they said that the player growth has blossomed to the 72% or something ridiculous. So, it's an interesting debate. When do you draw the line onto something when maybe it's not a creative venture anymore?
Well, I think as well, it speaks to a wider ongoing argument in gaming itself, where it's just like astronomical profits don't necessarily tie to single-player campaigns. They tie more to eternally, immortally monetizable online platforms, and that's the thing that you would chase if you were the naked business approach, which feels like what Rockstar's 2010s output turned into. Like, obviously, we still got Red Dead Redemption 2, GTA 5 was out in 2013, and Max Payne was in 2012, but that's it. Like, all their funds are going into GTA Online, so it seems like that's the focus for the company, and that doesn't leave any place for someone like Dan Houser. So it makes ultimately he had to sort of step away, which also came after Leslie Benzies leaving, who was like the sort of well-known producer who helped bring various other GTAs and other Rockstar game projects together. It just seems like the Rockstar of the modern day is not. It's just so far away from what we had in the 2000s, and obviously those people get older, they want to do different things, and it kind of just confirms it. it. Like, if these found items do relate to the conversations that someone like Dan was having in real life, then it does line up with the reality that he couldn't do story-focused content in GTA, so he had to go and do something else. But at the same time, in terms of GTA itself, it seems like Vice City is the next way to go, which, I don't know, like, that's cool, but it still just means that we're just reusing old locations again. Like, what do you think of the actual going back to Vice City thing?
Yeah, I mean, I'll always be more of a cowboy dude, so like the Red Dead stuff will always get me more. But I think it's interesting. I definitely think that Rockstar are at their best when they dive into historical settings. Like, I kind of find the satire and the modern iterated
stuff,
GTAs to be quite middle of the road, kind of just scatterbrained,
very surface level
bollocks. So I much prefer them to actually have an insightful, maybe commentary on a historical event. And if it is going to be in the 1980s in their Miami analog, then you can derive loads of interesting conversations and story beats from there, which I think they kind of get sidetracked on when the GTA satire is cranked up to that "whoa, we're nutty" kind of degree.
I think also, like, for me, one of the biggest things about Rockstar used to be how they would curate a soundtrack, like the audio footprint of those old GTAs. Like, it came into its own with Vice City and then San Andreas, and like picking an old and a more definable region in retrospect lets you just cherry pick all those different songs, which I look forward to if that's the case going forward. But yeah, let us know what you think down in the comments below, I guess, of Rockstar in general, their approach to GTA 5 over time, and what you want to see from GTA 6. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
And I've been Ewan from WhatCulture.com.
I'll catch you next time.
Bye.